Greetings everyone, Captain Clayface here, and thank you for joining me in another episode of Imma Sculpted. Today we are going to be sculpting Orphan of Kos from Bloodborne, released in 2015. The stills you see here are some of the references that I used while bringing the sculpture to life. Here I am using bendable wire and aluminum foil to create the armature or skeleton of the sculpture. I fit the wire down into holes I've pre-drilled into that board to create a more solid structure to build the clay over top of. The stuff you see me brushing on the wire is an oven-based clay adhesive. I use that to make the clay adhere to the structure. I always start with the basic shape of what I am sculpting and then add clay and build out from there. The feet are some of my least favorite things to sculpt, so naturally I try to get them out of the way first. Usually I just separate each digit and then add tendons and knuckles on top of that to kind of build the shape of the foot and make it look more detailed. As I work my way up the legs, I add what I like to think of as muscle layers to the sculpture. This gives a more detailed, lean look to whatever I'm sculpting. With all of my pieces, I add clay and blend it in a little bit at a time so that I build the piece layer by layer from the inside out. At this point, I may add finer detail as I go, or I may wait until the end to go back and add the detail later. It just depends on the piece that I'm working on. For working on areas such as rib cages and other bone structures, you can actually carve directly into the clay to get the shape that you want, but for me it's always been easier to add strands of clay and blend them in to get the shape that I desire. As you're adding more and more clay and your sculpture begins to take shape, it may become difficult to add the details that you want. So here I'm just going back and making sure I have the details looking the way that I like before I add more clay, and it becomes difficult to reach those areas. This back area will actually later be covered up by wings that grow out of his shoulders, but I'm sculpting this area like the wings aren't going to be there because in the finished product I don't know what parts you're going to be able to see poking through, and I want to make sure the areas that you do see have all the detail that I can add. Here I used aluminum foil to create the basic shape of the weapon that he wields. That way I can save on clay and I don't have to put a very thick layer of clay over top of it to get the shape that I want. And by weapon, I really mean placenta. Yes, Orphan of Kos swings a placenta around to attack you. Don't blame me, kids, I just sculpted. I sculpt the hands very much in the same way that I sculpt the feet. I start with the basic shape of the hand, and then I go back and add the tendons and knuckles and blend them in to give a more bony, detailed look. I never imagined that my hobby would consist of sculpting placentas and umbilical cords. Typically when I'm sculpting the head and face of a sculpture, I will do it separately and then add it onto the piece later. Here I actually sculpted the head directly onto it. There wasn't any design choice for that. I just wanted to try something different this time. And again, I'm building the face layer by layer at a time to get the look that I want. Here I've actually cut a wire mesh into the basic shape of the wing, and then I'm covering it with clay. This will make it more structurally sound when I go to add it onto the creature later. At this stage, the piece has been baked and cured and is ready to be painted. The first coat that I do will be the darkest shade of whatever color I'm using. From here I will do multiple more passes, lightening the color as I go and using a technique called dry brushing. This is essentially taking your brush, getting color on it, and wiping as much of it off as you can, and then lightly brushing the brush over the area that you're working on. And what it does, and you can see this here, is catching all the little highlights and leaving all the shadows alone. Here I'm using the same painting technique that I used on the body, just with a different color. Done and done. There you have it, folks. Orphan of Kos. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give a like and subscribe if you did. As of when this video is being posted, Orphan of Kos is available on my Etsy shop if you want to hop over there and check it out. As always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Imma Sculpt It. See ya.